All right. So every about a month or so, I like to take a break from being completely locked into Cleveland Browns stuff to take a look at what's going on outside of Cleveland and what's going on with other teams in the division. And to help me get that look at the Pittsburgh Steelers today, I'm bringing on Jared Bailey. You know him from AFC North Talk and many other things. Jared, how's it been covering the Steelers this offseason? It seems like it's been a much less eventful offseason than I think some people anticipated, given that your quarterback is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Well, I wouldn't say
anytime.
offseason camp. I would say camp.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, for what, like 3 months, every day, it's just like, all right, when's Aaron gonna sign? And that got pretty old pretty quickly. Once he
hmm
showed up, though, I was like, all right, well, we kind of all assume this is gonna happen. And then from then on out, the past couple months, it's just been all right. Are we gonna see him on the field at all during preseason? Which obviously we didn't. But the first week of camp for him, which was back in but a little bit over a month ago, July 22nd, I think is when they officially began practices. First couple days, it was a little bit clunky, which is pretty expected. But as camp went on, he got better, and players around him got better. Roman Wilson, a guy who we'll talk about a little bit later, I'm sure, who's in kind of a battle for a higher spot on the depth chart. They seem to have a good rapport. Scotty Miller and him as well.
Hey,
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of I think people mostly know the big things with the Steelers. Is that all right? What's the receiver position going to look like? Because they still haven't really brought in a proven number two. And what's Aaron going to look like? But also, what's the offensive line going to look like, specifically Broderick Jones? And in the preseason, Broderick Jones looked really good. So that is something that was a pleasant surprise. He had a struggle, a little bit of a struggling start to camp, but got better. Again, another one of those guys that got better as time went on. And once the game started, was going up against the ones for the Jaguars and the Bucks, and did a nice job doing it. So if they get good offensive line play, if Aaron's protected, I fully expect them to be a 10-win team again, hopefully an 11-win team. That's really the big thing with the Steelers is, can they get a higher seed and avoid having to go to Buffalo or Kansas City in the wild
mm.
card round. If they can do that, then I think they can win a playoff game.
How do you think the Steelers team is going to be differentiate itself from the last couple of years of Steeler football here? Do you think it's going to feel more the same, or is this going to have a bit of a different, kind of swing to it?
I think last year was a little bit weird because, obviously Justin Fields started the season as the starter. I don't think they necessarily expected that to happen. Um, but when you have Justin Fields, you expect them to lean into, what Justin Fields does really well, which is obviously run the ball. They didn't really do that a ton, which was a little bit surprising. But even so, Justin Fields held his own, had 10 total touchdowns and only one interception. And we saw a little bit of those flashes, but it felt like they couldn't really find an identity offensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they tried to make Justin Fields something that he's not, which is, a pure pocket passer. And he's just not, that's not who Justin Fields is. And then, when they made the switch to Russ, a lot of people were angry about it, myself included, because, they just gone 4-2 with Justin. Each one of their losses was only a one-score game. So it's not like they ever got blown out or anything like that. And so a lot of people were a little bit annoyed that you would turn the keys over to, a 36, 37-year-old guy when this guy in his mid 20s, who you're hoping, can maybe be something, is playing well enough to get you wins. And there was a lot of annoyance there. But when Russ comes in and they have those first few games of being able to pass the ball downfield a little bit better, I think a lot of people were eating crow a little bit, saying, all right, this actually could work out. Then George Pickens gets hurt, and they have zero explosiveness offensively because they didn't have anybody behind him. So it felt like they were trying to be a team. I mean, we know what Arthur Smith wants to do, and that's run the ball effectively and be able to set up the deep passing game. But running wise, they didn't have a very high success rate. And, when you can hem in on what a team's going to do, it's going to make them less efficient, less explosive. And that's when you throw in the Pickens injury on top of that, that was a big contributing factor into why they lost their final 5-6 games last year. So lack of identity hurt them last year. I think this year it's pretty clear what they want to be. And I think they have the pieces to more, to better do that with Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson in the backfield, an offensive line that is healthier than what it was last year and looks better than what it was last year. receiving core that is probably better than what it was, but you still want to see them add an outside name. So overall, I think they know what they want to be, and I think year 2 of Arthur Smith kind of getting, a lap around the track, being able to figure out what he wants to do. They have the pieces that they can, better do that.
Yeah. So you mentioned George Pickens there in your evaluation of last season. Obviously, traded George Pickens, moved on, and went with DK. How do you feel about the depth behind the position still? Like, because you kind of just did a swap out there between those two. Do you feel like if you get in a situation where DK does miss games, you're going to be in a similar hole with explosive playability from this passing offense?
Yeah, that's kind of the worry. Is that all right? Well, if DK goes down, what are they going to do? And the question still remains. Like, I'll say this: like Calvin Austin at least showed he could play a little bit last year. I still think, and I'll perfectly admit that I ate crow on that because I didn't think Calvin Austin was going to do anything. I thought that ship had kind of sailed, but he played much better than I expected. Even so, though, like this is a 5'7" guy who you're not going to put on the boundary. This is a guy who's purely like has to be a slot guy because he's just small. Roman Wilson had a few flashes during the preseason, but still an unproven commodity there on the outside. You'd like to think that he could be a reliable number 2, but I'd like to see them make a trade for somebody. When we look at some moves that are being made around the league right now, we're seeing, the potential of maybe an Alec Pierce in Indianapolis could become available. If that's the case, yeah, go get Alec Pierce. That's one of the best deep threats in football. Averaged over 22 yards a catch last year. So if you can add a guy like that to the boundary and shift the totem pole a little bit, where, okay, you got DK and Alec Pierce on the outside, rotating with Roman Wilson, who can play both slot and boundary. Calvin Austin is your slot guy, and then Scotty Miller there is your 5, and Ben Skoranek is the 6, who's going to play a lot of special teams. You can work with that a little bit while also having Jonnu Smith and Pat Fryermuth and Darnell Washington as pass catching options. So I'd like to see them make a move. They've brought in Gabe Davis twice. Gabe Davis, I think, if the health checks out, he fits what Art wants to do. He's a hell of a run blocker and a solid deep threat. He's not going to put up, 60 catches or anything like that, but he'll have like a game or two a year where he goes off for like 6 and 130. He did that with Buffalo a ton. And then, a name that Browns fans are familiar with, Amari Cooper, still out there, probably the best remaining free agent. I wouldn't hate that if he's, the number 2. You could certainly work with that. But there's not a lot of options out there. And it feels like for the second straight year, they kind of, either swung and missed on a lot of guys or didn't do enough swinging to begin with. So hopefully they bring in somebody that's at least a proven commodity in some way, shape, or form, rather than just hoping and praying for the second straight year.
What is it with Buffalo giving up on wide receivers and then like those careers just like flat dying?
Yeah, I mean,
because Amari Cooper can't get a job right now, which is like, I knew he's not the same guy he's been, but like,
right.
He didn't look completely cooked.
No, and I think he was more of the lack of numbers he put up last year in Buffalo, I think, was just more of a result of him being in the system where the Bills really spread the ball out a ton last year to a bunch of different guys that didn't really have a true one. And he still had moments last year where he looked like Amari Cooper. The regular season game against the Chiefs, he had 2 really big catches in that game. And there were moments where like you understood why they traded for him and he looked good. But he also dealt with an injury for a little bit that hampered him. So I think that, maybe it's him just kind of waiting it out. I don't know, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind Amari Cooper in Pittsburgh. I think that could be, again, he would be a fine number 2 at this point compared to what they have. I'd be very okay with him being there.
Let's kind of shift our focus to this year's draft class of Pittsburgh. It's hard to tell what the future is going to look like for these guys this early, but there are hurdles and landmarks that you want to see these guys get over. Has anybody given you any concern, and who are the guys who have, you're pretty excited about coming into the start of the season?
Not necessarily any concerns. Derek Harmon's already dealing with an MCL sprain. He suffered that against Carolina in the final preseason game. And a lot of people thought it was going to be a lot worse because he seemed to be a little bit emotional when he got taken off the field. But they only expect him to miss 1 game, so he should be back for the home opener in week 2 against Seattle. I'll tell you what, Y.A. Black, man, holy hell. He had a very good camp. all 3 preseason games he popped. That's a guy where obviously they drafted Derek Harmon to be the starter with Keanu Benton and Cam Hayward. That's a guy who I would assume would be the number 4 guy in the rotation. In terms of what he was able to do, both in getting pressure on the quarterback, getting hands on passes, and making a few run stuffs. 5th round pick out of Iowa. I think that he's going to have a nice spot in the rotation this year.
And it
Yeah,
goes
like I
to
said,
show you how important like just coaching is to a player's
yeah,
development. Because when we saw him at the Senior Bowl, and then I saw Pittsburgh take him at 5, I was in the 5th round. I was like, I felt a little early for Yaya Black, because he was very, very raw. Just didn't really seem to have a knack for pass rushing at all.
yeah,
And like what we've seen of him in camp, throughout mini camps, OTAs, and obviously throughout the preseason, you're like, oh man, this guy's definitely rosterable. And that goes to show you, right? Like, sometimes you have to use your imagination when you look at these guys in a Senior Bowl setting and say, okay, well, how does this coach see this guy, right? And what can he take from him? Because he's a big, long guy, and that was enough for Pittsburgh, right? The body and the size there and the mentality. He did like to fight. We saw that one.
we did see that. Yeah. And look, I think that when you get to like day 3, a lot of like it's you get away with some dart throws a little bit because it's like, all right, this dude has great length, great size. If we take him in the 5th round and miss, we can at least say we tried. But if he turns out to be something, then we look like geniuses. So, so far so good. Obviously, it's only been a few preseason games. I want to see what it looks like against the Jets week 1. But he's been a very pleasant surprise in terms of just rookies that have popped. Jack Sawyer, I would say, has probably been the biggest disappointment because when you look at his pass rushing tape, dude, it hasn't been good. We know that he can stuff the run. He's done that a couple times. But in terms of like what's in his repertoire to beat offensive tackles, there's just not a lot there right now. Which again, he's going to be the 4th guy in the rotation. So it's not like that big a deal right now. But I fully expect this team to move on from Alex Highsmith next year, make Nick Herbig the number 2, which means Jack Sawyer is going to have to be the number 3. And hopefully between now and then, he gets a little bit better in terms of getting off blocks, getting a little bit deeper of a bag when it comes to speed moves, perhaps, rather than just trying to plow through guys because, that just hasn't worked thus far. So, hopefully over the course of the season, we see him get a little bit better. But I would say he's kind of been the biggest disappointment. But even so, it's a long season. Hopefully we can see some improvement.
He's one of those guys too where I look at and like the way he likes to win in college, he definitely needs to be a lot stronger to do that in the NFL, right? Because you can run through guys in college, and I think he only had the last 2 years where he really started to play well at Ohio State. So maybe the hope is his physical can catch up with that mentality, because I don't know how much more you can really teach him from a speed rush perspective.
Yeah,
he's not really a bendy guy, so he's just gonna have to find out how to win with his body.
Yeah,
he's probably just gonna have to outlast people. You know what I mean? Just have more energy, more strength in the 4th quarter than they do.
Right.
That's a hard thing to kind of pull off if you're not number 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. Caleb Johnson, I thought, was one of the more interesting. You guys got 2 Iowa guys, right? So easy jersey.
Well,
swap.
3 because they picked up Sebastian Castro as an undrafted free agent, and 4 if you really want to look at Logan Lee, who they drafted last year out of Iowa on the defensive line. So they have a ton of Hawkeyes on this roster.
Lazy social media team right there, right?
Yeah.
Just easy jersey swaps to do. They didn't want to work the Photoshop budget too much, but Caleb Johnson there, running back from Iowa, I thought a lot of Browns fans were interested in him because he does kind of his own runner, right? Good eyes. How's he looked so far throughout camp, throughout really the preseason games? The only time you're going to see him be able to do running back stuff.
Every day that I was there in camp, it looked like he was having at least like one explosive play. And it's not just like the offense that realizes that. There was one play in particular during team drills, probably like the 2nd week of camp. He busted a run to the outside on the left, got more yards than he really had any business getting, got knocked out of bounds, and Deshaun Elliott, the safety, kind of came over to him, gave him a slap on the head, and was like vocally hyping him up. So like it feels like the guys know that they have something there. Didn't have a great week 1 against Jacksonville, and like everybody was freaking out on Steelers Twitter because there was like a screenshot of like a pretty open lane that he could have ran through and he didn't, and everybody was like, oh great, we drafted Najee Harris 2.0. It's like, bro, this is his first NFL game Like, let's give it some time. And then, of course, in the second game against Tampa Bay, he played really well. So, Jaylen Warren's the number one. However, Jaylen Warren did not look good against Carolina. He slipped on nothing twice and then fumbled. So I think that the fumbling issue that Jaylen Warren seems to have, like, could come back to bite him in the butt. And if he puts the ball on the turf and they yank him, I don't think Caleb Johnson would give the job back. So I do think going into 2026, Caleb Johnson will certainly be the number one guy. But to start this year, Jaylen Warren will be the number one. But as time goes on, I would expect to gradually see that carry load go. It'll come closer to 50-50, but it'll probably start off like 65-35-ish, somewhere in there, with a little bit of Kenneth Gainwell sprinkled in.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about the Steelers defense. I think the thing that everybody wants to look at is Jalen Ramsey, right? Got to see him a little bit, I thought, was it the second or third preseason game?
Last game against Carolina.
Where he decided he wanted extra reps, so he got a unsportsmanlike penalty.
Right.
That's my theory on why he did that, because it was going to be like 3rd and 15, and he knew they were just going to like draw it out, right? Like he was going to run a draw play and just take the punt. And he was like, "Nah, I want the reps. Get that first down for him. Like, I want a target. You know, like I think he wanted a target or something, a chance to make a play. So he did that because there was no reason for him to slam. Was it Trevor Etienne or his brother?
I think it was it Blackshear? I don't know the guy's first name.
I think it was one of the Etienne brothers.
Was it one of the Etiennes?
Yeah,
it was
Trevor,
the one that
just came out of Georgia. But yeah, he just threw this dude down, and I'm just like, he wants extra reps. What's going on here?
And again, I'm fine with him doing that in a meaningless game. And the Steelers starters on defense, like, I think kind of needed a slap in the face because they weren't tackling all that great. So I was fine with that. Like, all right, do dumb shit like that in the preseason. Get a few extra reps. Fine by me. They held him to a field goal. Great. They got off the field. Apparently, both he and Darius Slay told Mike Tomlin they wanted to go in for the second drive, to which Mike Tomlin told them no.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, fair enough. That's perfectly fine with me.
All but confirms my theory right there, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, I want the reps. He saw easy 3 and out coming. He's like, no.
So completely fine with it there. Don't do it week 1 against the Jets. That's all I ask. So I'll say this. Jalen in camp looked every bit as advertised. In the first week or so, on the first set of team drills that they ran at all camp, the first 3 plays, they had him playing 3 different spots. He started off in the nickel, then moved out to the boundary, and then they went one deep safety look, and he was the safety. So it's very clear that they are going to utilize him in a multitude of ways, especially if it means that they can keep Slay, and Joey Porter on the field all at the same time. That seems to be their biggest goal here, is to keep their 3 best DBs on the field. And I think that they're going to find different ways to do that. Brandon Echols is the guy who they signed as a free agent from the Jets, who also had really good camp, really good preseason. He's probably going to be their number 4 guy. But that's a guy that they can really rely on. And, I've said this on Believe in Steelers a ton. Like, this is, to me, the deepest cornerback group they've had probably since the mid-2000s, where, they had Ike Taylor and Bryant McFadden, Deshae Townsend. Like, they had in that case, they didn't have like a quote unquote star guy, but they had 4 to 5 guys that you knew you could rely on and wouldn't, kill you. Right now, they've got a few really like star names, a budding star in Joey Porter. Brandon Echols is a reliable depth guy. And then, someone like Beanie Bishop, who started a lot of games for them last year, who can rotate in. And then I think it's going to be James Pierre, who's the number 6, plays good special teams, had a nice camp. I'm sure they would love to keep Corey Trice, but Corey Trice is always hurt, and he missed practically all of training camp again this year because he was hurt. So I expect them to let him go. But overall, like, cornerback-wise, they're pretty deep, and I really like what I saw from Jalen during camp. And, in terms of what this defensive back group could be, I mean, already it feels like a massive upgrade over, what Dante Jackson provided last year, which, if you look at a box score, Dante Jackson, I think, had 5 interceptions. Go watch some Dante Jackson tape over the last month of the season. It wasn't good. So I think already it feels like a nice upgrade.
Yeah. You guys got any extra corners for Cleveland? We need one.
Maybe. I mean, if they let go of Corey Trice, you can sign him.
Corey Trice for Kenny Pickett right now.
I'm okay on that. Do you Brown's question? Do you think that Pickett will be on the Week 1 roster?
Week 1 roster? I don't know. I can't. I got to admit that I'm not going to be able to see over my Kenny Pickett bias, right? Like, because I don't think he's good. And I look at him more like Cody Kessler than I look at him as like a
Oh,
former
okay.
first round pick.
Yeah, that's a
So,
good shout.
For me, it's like I think you can probably, if you can't trade him, right, if nobody is so in love with Kenny Pickett that they're willing to give you a 2027 6, right? I don't think that's asking for much, right? If nobody's willing to give up that for Kenny, if nobody's that desperate for him,
one's willing to just say, all right, we'll give you like our current backup running back at Fresno State for Kenny Pickett.
We'll swap some guy we're about to cut. Give us Kenny Pickett. You can give us Kenny Pickett and like attach a 7th in 2 years with it. And then we'll do, if nobody's willing to do any of that for Kenny Pickett, then he has no trade value and will never have any trade value anytime soon. And he's very likely to get through waivers, right? So once he clears waivers, if you cut him, I think there's a high chance you could just get him on your practice squad. And then if something happens to Joe Flacco early in the season, you could say, oh, well, we're not ready to put Dylan in. Let's just activate Kenny from the practice squad.
I am incredibly hopeful that week 6, Cleveland at Acrisure, Kenny Pickett is the starting quarterback. That would make me
we have to activate Kenny off the practice squad.
Just take him out of whatever RoboCop chamber they're keeping him in. Start thawing him out during week 5, and by week 6 he'll be ready.
My rule for that game always is whatever can go wrong will go wrong in that game for Cleveland, because it's always been the case, even in years when we had good years. Remember 2020, Browns were rolling. Steelers were like a little iffy at the beginning of the season. Baker Mayfield rolls in there, plays one of the worst games he ever played in the best season of his life. Right?
Oh yeah, he threw a horrible pick 6 to Minkah Fitzpatrick that game.
Yeah, on like a slot. I mean, like a slot slant. Like, like just
some
straight
sort of
up
slant, some sort of like slant or shallow dig, and Minkah was just staring at him the entire time. He's like, "All right, there we go."
It was like, "What is this? He's done that. He's not done that all year. He does that there."
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it could be Kenny Pickett. I'll tell you, I don't want any of the rookies to play that game. Because whatever can go wrong will go wrong, and like. We could get we could get, if Shador plays in that game, that's like, it's probably not going to be good for him, right? Like, and just my history of Cleveland Browns tells me starting your first game in Pittsburgh after you just went to London.
Who was the last like rookie quarterback for the Browns to start in Pittsburgh? Because I think Colt McCoy did it, didn't he? And it didn't go well.
Did DTR do it?
He started in Cleveland.
He started in Cleveland, not in Pittsburgh.
Not in Pittsburgh.
Did Baker have to play in Pittsburgh?
Oh, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah,
no.
It was pretty bad.
Yes.
It was pretty bad.
Yes.
It was really bad.
Because the first game that year was a tie in Cleveland, and Tyrod started. Yes.
Yeah, and that was in Cleveland. That was the Miles. I think, 2017 was the Myles Garrett game. One of these. No, it was. You're right. 2018 was the Myles Garrett basically forced a tie against Ben Roethlisberger.
Yes.
In the fourth quarter and overtime of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they went over to Pittsburgh, and he looked. That was the first game.
No. Deshaun Kaiser played in Cleveland, or played in Pittsburgh the winless year.
Yeah, well,
but that was the last game of the year, and Landry Jones was starting on the other side.
And then he missed the throw to Corey Coleman, and we still see that clip today.
Yes,
still 0-16, which isn't necessarily true. The Browns really were bad that year. Them getting to the 20 doesn't guarantee a damn thing.
And it's like the most random Steelers connection happened that game too, because I think Landry Jones threw a touchdown pass to Kobe Hamilton that won the game. So that was Steelers lore for everybody.
Yeah, that was a sad way to go.
Wasn't great.
That was pretty down bad.
Well, if it makes you feel better, that what was that, 2017?
Yeah, it was 2017.
Yeah, well, then the Steelers lost to Blake Bortles in the playoffs. So
you know what though? You know what you did? You gave me a lot of perspective and appreciation for where the Browns are now, because man, we aren't there.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not even close.
For what it's worth, I fully expect them. I mean, not to be a playoff team, but I think there's a lot of variance that's happened in the last 2 years. Where 11 wins to 3 wins, I think it'll probably meet in the middle and be like 6 or 7.
Yeah, it'd be like somewhere. I think they'll be similar to how they were in like 2019, like 8-9 wins, something like that. The difficult team to beat, but still has too many questions.
Don't have the horses.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they have the consistency at quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, I think when you play this kind of style of football where you're really relying on defense, you're leaving a lot up to your field goal kicking. You're leaving a lot up.
Trust me, buddy. I know. I'm well.
We just aren't like we just aren't consistent in those areas. Running back, we're going to be pretty young at, right? So it's not going to hurt you the whole game. You're going to be able to get yards if your offensive line is blocking. But when you don't have a consistent runner back there, there's going to be a couple of holes he misses that are going to be in critical spots.
Yeah.
So it's just I think the consistency on offense is going to do us in. But I think you'll see a team that they might get some surprising victories here during the year too, because they might have it all click at the right time against certain teams.
I fully expect them to beat Pittsburgh and Cleveland. I think the Steelers will win the game in Pittsburgh. I think they'll split. They've split.
I've never seen a more Pittsburgh is guaranteed to win this game in Pittsburgh this year than Browns coming off. The Browns basically conceded that game when they were like, nah, let's not take the bye week early. Let's just lose to Pittsburgh after we get back from Minnesota, because we never win that game. The idea we're going to win that game coming off of a 12-hour flight is just it's absurd. But yeah, that's kind of been what's been going on here. But let me know if you want Kenny Pickett back. I'm
all right.
If you were a team, because you asked me a question about Kenny Pickett, if you were a team, what would the situation have to be for a team that likes Kenny Pickett to trade for him? What would they even give up? In the perfect situation.
Somebody has it's got to have multiple injuries, right? It's got to be a dire situation, and it can't just be a scrub team. It has to be a team that you can
wants
say
to be good, right?
A team that has a chance to be good, and their quarterback's going to be out for a month, and the backup that they currently have stinks, but they know, all right, if we get a guy who's at least started games. And has one game, knows what it takes to just lean on defense and whatnot and just get us by for a month, maybe go 2-2. All right, we'll trade for Kenny Pickett. We'll give you a 2027-6, but you're not getting anything more than that. So I think it has to be a team with reasonable playoff hopes / Super Bowl hopes and a bad backup quarterback right now. So maybe knock on wood, don't want this to happen. But if Josh Allen gets injured, and they really don't if it was Mitch Trubisky over there right now, or
oh my God, could you imagine watching
Mike
Josh
White.
Allen throw the football one week and then you're seeing Kenny Pickett out there?
Yeah, man, that's going from a Michelin star restaurant to eating 3-day-old Burger King. It's not good.
Oh my goodness.
Or if I don't know who's the backup in San Francisco right now. If Purdy goes down, Kyle Shanahan.
I think it's Mac Jones.
Is Mac Jones?
I think it's Mac Jones out there. I don't think he's getting off that.
I think you're right. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
But a team like that where,
I think the Raiders are probably our only shot right now because Aiden O'Connell just went down.
I don't know. I think they're going to stick with Cam Miller. Seems to be Brady's.
He said he was looking for a backup.
Oh, maybe. Then maybe. That could be something.
Stick with Cam Miller.
I don't know.
As a backup.
That seems to be. I think I was listening to the Raiders broadcast during a game, and they're like, "Oh, Tom Brady really liked Cam Miller. Took him in the 6th round, same round that he went." And it's all right, guys, Jesus, let's hold off here. Come on.
Remember, Tom Brady really liked Shador.
Yeah, that's my point. Preseason broadcast sucks so bad. By the way, none of them are good. It's all horrible, and the only one that's palatable to me is the Packers because Kevin Harlan does their preseason, and he at least makes it sound good. But my God, man, it is.
I forget. Jim
great.
Nantz used to do one of the New York teams, and that would be
Iron Eagle does the Jets.
Yeah. Iron Eagle does the Jets. I think Jim Nantz used to do the Giants. It's one of those things. When you're watching basketball, you see the MSG networks playing your team. You're like, was that Mike Breen?
Yeah. By the way, how does he do that? Because he's doing at least 1 or 2 NBA games a week on ESPN, but then he has to do Knicks as well. I don't get how that works.
Well, I guess he's been doing it so long that there's really not that much prep you have to do for the Knicks, right?
Sure.
So I guess those Knicks games are pretty easy, and then he's always doing prep on every other team. So
I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense.
He's already in New York, might as well get the extra. It's like him doing DoorDash on the side, but the Mike Breen version.
That's funny.
With DoorDash is working for the MSG network.
Because Iron Eagle does, I think, the Nets, and then his kid does the Clippers. So they're a deep family there. The Eagles are both Ian and Noah are pretty good.
Play-by-play dynasty, gotta respect it. But Jared, thank you for having I was about to say thank you for having me on. Jared, thank you for being on today. Appreciate you. Let people know where to find you at, man.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at jbaileyNFL. I do have a Browns-centric piece coming on my Substack where I'm talking about the whole Shador, Kevin Stefanski thing. I'm not really talking about it. It's very much just like a parody type situation, but I'm writing it like the dialogue, like it's an episode of Batman the Animated Series. So go subscribe. You can subscribe for free at jbaileynfl.substack.com. If you want to financially support me and like me that much, it's $5 a month for the extra stuff. So go over to jbaileynfl.substack.com. But yeah, follow me on Twitter at jbaileynfl for everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna write an episode of the Browns preseason structured in Arrested Development.
There you go.
And cast Shador Sanders as, well, no, it's not even Shador. It would be casting like all the media people who have obsessed over this thing.
It's so like, silly.
It's insane. The level of obsession over they really led Sports Center.
They led who was it? I think it was Ben.
I think it was Zach Jackson.
Maybe Zach Jackson had said something about, yeah, I guarantee this is going to lead First Take tomorrow, and by God did it.
Yeah. The second half of the third preseason game.
I have so much to say about it. I'm going to write about it, but it's ridiculous.
It's almost Tebow levels. It's almost
getting
Tebow
there.
levels.
It's getting there. If Skip Bayless was still on TV,
yeah,
we'd be, I don't know what his opinion on Shador is.
I was about to say, like, I don't know where he landed on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like what? It's almost Tebow levels. I don't remember what Tebow was like in the preseason, right? I was a child.
Yeah, I don't recall. I remember there being I don't know why I vividly remember this, but I remember him having a game in Cincinnati in the preseason.
Yes.
So that's the only preseason memory I have of Tim Tebow in a Broncos uniform.
Also, he was a first-round pick.
Sure.
So,
which nobody ever thought he would be, but Josh McDaniel said, actually, watch this.
So we're in this weird place where, like, as a quarterback prospect, I think some of the conversation around Shador is a little bit more justified than it was about Tim Tebow, because I remain, Tim Tebow's one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen play. Yeah, it was really bad. But from where the team selected him standpoint, some of the conversations that they had about Tim Tebow were certainly more justified than like a 5th round pick being in the starting competition.
Yes.
It's like reverse Tim Tebow. It's like, but it's the same energy. It is the exact same energy as Tim Tebow at times. And I guess the difference is too, I don't think Shador makes this happen as much as Tim Tebow was like straight up encouraging this nonsense. like I think that's a huge difference there. I don't think Shador is like really buying into it. He seems like, I took the sacks, all this stuff seems to be answering it.
And
right? Yeah,
that's the big thing for me too, because like I'm not like rooting against Shador Sanders. Like he doesn't seem like a bad dude or anything like that. But the annoying ass people who are coming up with these dumbass theories, like I want them to be wrong, but I also don't want to root against somebody who I don't have anything against. So like it's a slippery slope. It's a weird line to try to walk.
Yeah, that's where I would say there's a difference. I think Tim Tebow was like actively pushing these things. Like he was like, yeah, I don't know what's happening with the starting job.
So funny.
And it's like, come on, Tim. But so I think that was a little bit of a difference. I would love to speak to somebody who had to cover that like in the thick of it, because I would love to see how much different they think it is. Because like, I thought dealing with like Baker Mayfield stuff, that was just football, right? Like there was people who just loved him from Oklahoma. He was a legend there. And then he comes to Cleveland and it gets a little rocky, and then you have that friction, right? That's normal, right? This is, I mean, like they accused Kevin Stefanski of enforcing institutional racism the other day. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, you know? But yeah, we can sit here and talk about the Shador thing for another hour, but you know, it's one of the more fascinating things. With Jared, thank you for giving your insight on Pittsburgh. And let me know, man. If you think Pittsburgh, if Mason goes down and you need a backup, you know, you need somebody who can run that Steeler offense, somebody who's experienced in the Arthur Smith system. Look, Desmond Ritter's already taken. You know, it looks like Cincinnati's going to roster him.
Hey,
So
Skylar
get
Thompson
Desmond
looks
Ritter
fine.
plus. You know,
Skylar Thompson looks fine to me. Well, but I'll stay away from Kenny Pickett.
Come on, Jared. You don't want to see the welcome back home graphic for Kenny Pickett?
Not even.
So they start playing that Diddy song, "I'm coming home."
Oh my God! I certainly hope they'd choose something different.
Homecoming, Kanye West, right there.
There we go.
Right,
that's a little better.
So, just look forward to it. Right, break out those 8 jerseys again, y'all. Well, he's like wearing 18.
All the
somebody got jerseys. 8 right now.
Aaron, yeah.
Oh, Aaron, yeah.
Yeah.
So what? 18? 18?
Oh, that's Will Howard.
Will Howard. Ooh, what numbers left?
He's sure as hell not wearing 7 like he did in Philly. So there's
12's retired.
12, or he's gonna wear some like 19 or no, it's Calvin Austin.
No, Calvin Austin's 19.
It's 15. 15's probably available. You can have 15.
15.
Yeah.
It's just a here take it jersey.
Yeah, that's the epitome of here take it.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett's certainly in that run of his career where it's like, all right, man, here's a jersey.
Yeah.
Hey, look, sometimes you can make it out of it. Baker Mayfield made it out of it. He got there quick too.
17 with the Rams.
Yeah, he got there in 1 season.
Pretty good.
Yeah, he was battling it out with Kyle Trask.
Oh God.
Yeah. Look, that's somebody whose life's changed dramatically over the last 2 years.
Much.
Because it was looking bad. And shout out to him for that. But yeah, Kenny Pickett's always available. Let us know if Pittsburgh wants him back. We'll gladly ship him off to you, Just give us.
I'll be sure to drive down to the south side here in a little bit and relay that message to Omar.
Yeah, definitely let Omar know that Kenny Pickett is available. And he's had such a good camp in Cleveland, and he's he only got injured, Jared, because he hurt himself running on an 80-yard touchdown. And
it wasn't during 7-on-7s.
It was on a padded practice.
Fucking idiot. Jesus. I'll show them what I can do.
I've never seen somebody take themselves out of quarterback competition in such a more hilarious way.
I've also never seen anybody like during media stuff. Like he's the most monotone human being I've ever seen at the position.
And that's exactly why Pittsburgh should trade for him, to just mellow out the room a little bit. You just add a buffer in there. If Aaron Rodgers gets too controversial again, it sounds like you should give us a 5th, to be honest.
That's okay. Solid pass on that.
But all seriousness, Jared, thank you for joining us. Have a great day. Have an even better rest of your night. Peace.